Hey guys, it's Mario here back with another quick video, and this time I'm covering the topic of bulking. Specifically, how long should that bulking phase last? And this is a topic that has so much nonsense out there, especially if you look at the articles or videos or Facebook groups where people are claiming that they're gaining some ridiculous numbers like 30 pounds in 6 weeks, or you'll read that guys are putting on 60 pounds of muscle in a year. And like, it's just ridiculous how confusing that is for most people. Even me, who knows the data, I know the science, I know how this works, I still sometimes get shocked just by seeing what kind of claims people are making. So I wanted to put out a video to just put these things into the right perspective. So how long should a bulking phase last? So there's two primary factors that will determine this. The first factor is your training age, your training experience. The second factor is how lean you are to begin with. And I'm gonna start from the second one because most guys aren't lean enough to begin with to go on a bulk. So this is a big problem because according to the rule of nutrition partitioning, you will be gaining a lot more body fat if you put up a caloric surplus if you're not lean enough. So if you're in that body fat percentage above 16%, somewhere 18, 20%, and you go on a bulk and you give your body that surplus, you will be gaining a lot more body fat than you should be gaining. And it's gonna make your life a lot harder in the next cut, because that cut is going to have to be a lot longer. So keep that in mind. Like, keep in mind that you have to be lean to begin with. And when I say lean, I mean somewhere between that 8 to 12% of body fat. So that would be kind of the ideal starting point where you want to find yourself before you think of going on a bulk. And by bulk, I mean lean gaining or a slower type of bulk. Obviously, you don't really go on a bulk where you just go all out. That's just reserved for people who are abusing drugs, because as a natural lifter, we are limited by the amount of muscle mass we can gain. And that brings me to the first point. So let's say you are at that 8 to 12% of body fat where you typically can see your abs, you can see your outline, maybe a full six pack, or you can see like a four pack, or you can pretty much see good vascularity in your shoulders, in your chest. Maybe depending on your genetics, your abs might not be super visible and shredded, but they will be there. So you're in that good range to start a bulk. And if you're not there, I mean, regardless of if your caliper tells you that you're 6% body fat, if you can't see your abs, you're definitely not lean enough. So that's just to clear up some things, that because a lot of guys are using these tools and then the tools spit out some kind of number, but they're not lean to begin with. So trust the mirror on this. The mirror is your best bet when it comes to this. So let's assume you're lean to begin with. And now we're looking at your training age. So we're looking, are you a beginner lifter? Are you someone who is in that newbie gains phase? Are you an intermediate lifter? Have you lifted for a year already in the gym? Or are you an advanced lifter? Someone who has been lifting for a couple of years and you're closer to that genetic potential. So a beginner, their rate of muscle gain could be about 1.5% of body weight per month. So that's quite a lot. So that's a substantial amount of weight gain per month. And that will obviously determine the length of the bulk as well. Also, for an intermediate, that would be about 1% of body weight per month. For an advanced lifter, that would be about 0.5% of body weight per month. That's the tempo, that's the speed of muscle gain you can expect depending on your training age, which is the most important thing, because that determines your caloric surplus, and that the caloric surplus will determine how much you will gain and how long you can stay in that gaining, because once you reach that threshold again of 15-16% body fat, it's time to cut again, right? So you're bulking until you reach a certain threshold. So if you start off at 8%, you have about 8% of body fat to gain until you reach that threshold of 16% where you have to cut again. So let's say you're an intermediate lifter. Let's say you're someone who is 160 pounds and about 10% of body fat. So like your average intermediate lifter after a cut. That person, as we said, according to the rule of data, kind of the averages, they could expect to gain about 1% of their body weight in muscle mass per month. That would be about 1.6 pounds. 1.6 pounds per month, and divide that by 4 to get the weekly, you would get about 0.4 pounds per week of muscle gain. And that is something you should aim for. And undoubtedly, you will gain some body fat. So you pretty much can say, hey, I'll be gaining about an average a half a pound per week. And that's a solid average. And depending on how long it takes you to reach that 16% of body fat will pretty much mean that you have 6% to gain. And that can be 5 months, that can be 6 months, depending how long it takes you to reach that point of that 16%, 15 to 16% body fat. And really, for us to optimize, to really get that 1% of lean body mass gain per month, we do need to gain a little bit of body fat. And this is something that a lot of people are scared of. They don't accept the fact that you have to gain a little bit of body fat if you want to maximize muscle gain. If, however, you want to remain lean, like super lean all the time, obviously then you will have to sacrifice a little bit of that muscle gain in order for you to minimize the fat gain. And the fat gain will still come, but it will not be a substantial amount. So you can say, I know people who've bulked for a whole year and they gained 4 or 5 pounds of muscle mass, and that is okay. I mean, it's not a problem if you are someone who really wants to be lean all year round, and if you're someone who really cares about staying lean all the time. And my personal recommendation is not to do that, because obviously I'm more interested in building the maximum amount of muscle mass and the maximum amount of strength you can do, and for that you definitely need to be in that caloric surplus. So you see here that based on these thresholds that we have, based on your starting point, based on how fast you reach the threshold, that will determine the length of your bulk. And what you can do is, what you should be doing is really putting in the maximum effort in the gym to do that progressive overload, to really work hard in the gym, to make sure that you're using that surplus to gain strength, to build muscle, and that phase will be very productive for you. And then you will end it at a point where you just look at yourself and you say, hey, I'm no longer as lean as I want to be. And I'm saying that 15-16% of body fat, some people might be not comfortable with that. Some people might want to end it at 13 or at 14% of body fat. I know myself, I mean, first time when I went in a bulk, I was about, let's say, 8 to 10% of body fat. And as soon as I went over that 13-14%, I mean, I could still see a little bit of my 4-pack, but I was just not comfortable. And I said, hey, I'm not okay with this. I'm gonna go back on a cut. And then I did the cut again, and then I went into another bulking phase. And that is perfectly fine. You know, you need to look at yourself in the mirror. You need to have that greater level of self-awareness where you know, hey, I'm in that healthy range of body fat, but I can manipulate it and I can stop it and start it at any point I want. I just want to point out here that a lot of guys are very scared of gaining body fat, and that's something that is really preventing them from gaining a lot of good muscle mass as well. So keep that in mind, that a bulking phase should last at least 8 weeks. So if you're not doing 8 weeks, I mean, that's the minimum you can do, and it should probably last a lot longer, between 12 and 16. So make sure that you're lean to begin with. Before you dive into the bulking and lean gaining phase, make sure that you're lean, and do get on that bulk and really commit to the bulk. Don't go like too short and then get scared and come back, because that will really destroy your results, because you don't have that bulking momentum. And often these gains don't come as linearly as people think. You know, people imagine like it's just the muscle mass is just coming like pieces of the puzzle. You know, it's like all coming linearly day by day. But in reality, it's sometimes that there's no gains for a couple of weeks, and then all of a sudden, that 1 week you gain a ton of muscle mass, and it's just incredible. Like, and you gain a ton of size. Like, it's just, the body isn't as linear as we like to believe. So that's something to keep in mind when you're bulking, to really have that patience and to observe your body fat level at most, and to make sure that you're controlling those gains, to make sure that you're not overshooting your food intake, because food is permissive. Don't forget that food is permissive to muscle building, and how much muscle you can build depends on your genetics and your training age, and that's the most important thing. So don't overshoot your food intake. Keep it at that appropriate rate, and you should be happy with the results. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Real quick video here on how long should you bulk. This is pretty much everything you need to know in terms of how long you should stay in that phase. And let me know in the comments below, are you currently in a bulking phase? Are you currently bulking? Aside from that, also make sure to hit that subscribe button to support this channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.